And also a sweetie in his own way, I guess, Robert Weiner. Democratic strategist, columnist, and former communications director for Clinton drug czar General Barry McCaffrey. He's also former chief of staff of the House Committee on Aging. He's also former press secretary for Congressman Rangel and Conyers of New York and Michigan, respectively. Bob, good to have you back.
Well, thanks, Alan. And my women know, my past know that I'm not a sweetie. But, by the way, Jay Carney does not have an idiot boss. He's beating all the Republicans. He today proposed a 35 drop to 28% for corporate taxes by also ending some other loopholes and subsidiaries. And it's unfortunate the Republicans can't say, hey, that was our idea. Great idea. We'll work with you. Instead, it's Obama's. We don't know if we can support that. This country is in deep doo-doo because the Republicans can't work with an idea regardless of party.
When we look at Obama's 2012 budget, wherein he's claiming cuts from spending never planned, such as monies will save by not fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan for years, never intended. Let me ask very quickly, can't everyone see how grotesquely and intellectually bereft that is?
Well, first of all, this Democrat did race to a landline to get you the highest possible quality, even though I could have been on my cell. So I do want to state that for the record. And by the way, was it off the wall when Bush put the rich tax cuts and make them on budget? Didn't do any offsets, just made up the money for those plus his 2 wars plus his drug plan. Were those off the wall, Alan, or were those reasonable?
Well, the logic is when you lower rates, you increase tax revenues because you allow that many businesses to have that many more dollars to hire that many more people who then turn around and pay that many more in taxes.
The debt. So aside from that, how is the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
You can't claim cuts from spending never intended and still be taken seriously, Bob. Or do you believe that is the case?
If they were in the budget and you're not going to spend them, if they were projected, you can reduce them. That is something that Congress, and maybe you're right, Alan, it shouldn't happen, but I worked in Congress for 22, in the White House for 22 years, and that's how it's done.
No, it's not. You can't claim cuts from not yet allocated spending and still be taken seriously.
Every year, the cuts were from projections of spending. That's actually the way it's always happened.
Bob Weiner, can you understand that when you do tax, this proves to be a disincentive to economic productivity, not an incentive? Bob Weiner.
Alan, that's what we call a reductio ad absurdum, because that is you to, let's go to a zero tax rate. We don't need any money at all for the government. We'll do better off.
For the few, because you get more money in the coffers that way, Amy Ridenhour. Isn't that fair to say?
Of course, Elmendorf has a point. The question is, what are the numbers? And the Clinton tax rates brought us 22 million jobs in a balanced budget. So we haven't gotten there yet. Alan, I want to agree with you that today Obama went a step in that direction by reducing from 35 to 28 the corporate rate and cutting all company subsidies who've had record profits over the last 8 years and offshore loopholes to bring jobs back to America. That's why, because he did go in that direction, I find it absurd as a former Hill and White House staffer that the Republicans didn't say, terrific bipartisan step, let's roll.
And again, I point to the GAO because last year they said we wasted $510 billion. You don't get to poo-poo that. Let me ask you.
No one's poo-pooing it, but it's very difficult
why can't
to get that money. And it's, as I said, that money has been true for 20 years since I was the spokesman of the House Government Operations Committee, and we issued a report saying there were
No. See, Amy Ridenhour, this is where
tax rate.
Bob Weiner, to you, what Amy referenced, of course, is the president's approach to the contraception issue. But it turns out that many Catholic institutions are self-insured, so that we're right back to square one, and the very separation of church and state that was breached to begin with remains breached. How do you see the president extricating himself from this, Bob Weiner?
From the cartoon that was in the papers yesterday and the day before, with Santorum and the Pope in bed between a husband and a wife saying, we oppose big government. It is absurd for the Republicans to take that issue on. They're going to lose big time because 99% of women use contraception.